You're very welcome. Thanks for joining me. My name is Michael Ryan, and today we're going to be focusing on the hips and the legs. So working with the pelvis is a great way of creating a sense of anchoring in our system, a sense of at-homeness in our system. So often when we feel a little agitated or a little disconnected, this part of the body is shut down. It's tight and protected. So we'll look at ways of just beginning to open those areas up and create this movement of prana, of blood, of all of those chemicals that need to move through the body more and more freely. Ultimately, what we're working toward is the idea of our bodies, our minds, our hearts as an integrated system where everything is working in tandem and in balance. And when we're moving in that direction, we simply feel better. It's as simple as that. So to begin, we're going to stand. Okay, first thing I'd like you to do is look down at the feet, line the 2 feet up so they're hip distance and parallel. So we're not turning one out, one's not forward of the other. Take a moment, work that out, and then try to spread the toes. And the toes have a gripping action. Feel them clawing into the mat, and then just lifting the heels up and slowly down. And as you're working with the feet in this way, just noticing where else is engaging, where else is working. All of those little muscles up through the legs, right up toward the knees, engaging, working, toning the tissue around the ankle and knee joint. So slow down the descent. Slow down the descent. You might find it a little wobbly at first because even when we're working this front part of the foot, it's not somewhere we're used to working. Most of the time, our weight is located in the heels. We're dumping into our heels and the front of the foot is inactive. It's kind of asleep or working in a way that we don't necessarily want it to be working. Just a few more of these. Perfect. Okay. And then just a little movement with the feet again. Just a little spread of the toes, a little move around and feel. Okay, so very simple, and you might want to go and put a hand on a wall for stability here. I'm going to cross my left ankle over my right thigh. Okay, so I've got the very end of the shin on the back leg as opposed to the ankle itself. If I put the foot on, what happens is it sickles at the ankle, it collapses at the outer ankle, and you'll know that by a crease in the inner ankle. So I don't want to have that. I want to have the bones in the leg balanced. So I'm on the shin as opposed to the ankle. Okay. Now, very simple. In this position, I'm going to take my hips back. Now, as they go back, they're going to go down also. But what I'm doing is I'm keeping my belly, abdomen long, I'm keeping my sternum lifted, and I'm keeping my gaze forward. And I go down to whatever feels accessible. Now, you get that stretch in the glute. I want you to breathe into what you're meeting. If you can have one hand on that knee, the inside of the knee or the part of the knee facing the sky, I want you to press the knee up toward the ceiling into the hand. And then at the same time, can you lift the upper body so that arm is straighter and the belly is even longer? And then can you bring the weight forward in the bottom foot so you feel more weight at the front of the foot? And just breathing here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Shake it out a little. Second side. Take your time. Again, it's the groins, hips going backwards that we're interested in. Yeah? That keeps the pelvis in an alignment that will allow it to begin to open, become actually more open and stronger all at the same time. If you can see me quite often, the tendency when we go to work with the pelvis is the belly does the work first, and then we end up in a particular position that actually shuts the pelvis down. So we're trying to remedy that here. Bum goes back. It's like you're sticking your bum out. You've still got an arch in the lower back. We've got the hand on the inside of the knee. You're pushing the knee up into the hand, just a sustainable resistance. And again, do you remember we lift the upper body up? Now breathe into what you're meeting in terms of tension or work. Bring the weight forward in the bottom foot. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we release again. And again, you just shake out the legs a little. So a lot of what happens in terms of the tension that we carry in our bodies, and you know, all of us carry levels of unconscious tension, tension that we've gotten used to. You know, we just consider it normal. We're not aware of it. But it literally aligns our skeleton in a particular way. So the bones are slightly off where they're designed to be in terms of finding a more optimum alignment. An optimum in terms of the alignment of the body will allow us to feel more ease, more strength, more freedom, all of those more spacious qualities that are associated with what we call our parasympathetic nervous system. What we tend to be connected to unconsciously, it's not a choice that we're making, it's old programming that we're carrying, is the sympathetic nervous system, which is that part that is more protected based. So what it does in its dominance is it pulls the body into that slightly more protected space. And you'll notice it when you're, particularly if you find yourself in a position for any given amount of time, like you're sitting in the car driving or you're sitting in a chair, they're the moments you'll tend to notice it most, where you'll unconsciously kind of go into that shortened front body, disengaged back body. And then when we carry that around with us, that particular alignment, and we're doing what we're doing throughout our day, we're picking stuff up, we're walking around, because the body is slightly out of alignment, every time we bear weight or do some work in that position, it's a catch-22. We go into more and more lockdown. So we kind of put layer upon layer upon layer of this holding pattern into the body, and through our practice we're interested in beginning to unravel. First side again. Sit the bum back, weight forward in the bottom foot. Now either stay here and you can press the knee up into the hand. If you want to just play a little and just see what happens, I'm going to hook my big toe. So let's say I've got my left foot, my left hand hooks the big toe. So I use my index finger and my thumb to hook the big toe. And then I take the foot over to the left. Now, the arms on the inside of the leg, I push my leg into my hand first. And as I push my leg into my hand, what I'm going to do is can I sit the standing leg a little deeper, and can I find that ability to stick my bum out and maintain the arch in the back. I'm going to try to keep all of that. And then with that, I'm going to take the leg over to the side. I'm going to stretch it over to the side. And then if I feel like going further, I lift everything up, even take an arm wide. That's it. And breathe for 3. Lift the sternum heart for 2. Have a little wobble. And then release. Nice work. And again, you just shake it out. Second side. So you get to choose. You can hop off the bus any way you like. So again, you're trying to have a sense of the pelvis being the first part. That's the movement part, not the front body overworking. So this is what we do, is we overwork the front, and that disconnects us from the back. And again, this is our ways we find integration balance. So I'm pushing the knee up into the hand initially. And as I do that, I want to tune into the pelvis and think of the sitting bones that are, the top of your thigh bones in your hips. You want to feel a sense of them moving backwards and widening apart. You want to get a sense of that. And the more you do this, it's going to be easier and easier to feel these spaces. You're developing the tendons that relay information and tell you where you are in space. And that then deepens your ability to move these places, strengthens that. Okay, index finger and thumb, right hand, right foot. We take the foot a little to the side. We push arm and leg together initially, just see can you get that. Bend the standing knee a little deeper. Try to lean forward, stick the bum back, then extend the leg over to the side. Breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And then we play it lifting. Lifting, breathe. 3, 2, 1. And we release. Okay, 2 hands, base of the thighs. Feet more or less hip distance. 2 feet doing exactly the same thing, pointing forward. So we're looking for symmetry and balance all the time. Just like you did earlier. Weight forward. Heels pulse up. And release slowly down. Okay, keep the weight forward in the feet, but let the heels come down. Fingers are on the outside of the legs, thumbs on the inside. Without moving, and again we've got that arch in the lower back, so that lets the hips be in this really supportive, healthy position. Without moving, press the legs apart. So you're pushing the hands or the knees into the hands, pushing the legs apart, and you'll feel that widening again in the hips. Now keep the arch in the back, stretch the legs straighter. So you're pivoting forward a little bit more. Bend the knees deeper. Stretch the legs straighter. Keep pressing the legs apart. Keep the weight forward in the 2 feet. Keep going here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, one more. Beautiful, beautiful, perfect. Come all the way up. Okay. So take a moment, close the eyes. Forget about any technique. Notice your breath. Let your belly relax. Do little work as you can to be in the standing position. Okay, let's open the eyes. Okay, a little test. Check this out. You're standing normally. You're standing in this vertical position, not doing anything you wouldn't normally be doing. With the hands, first I want you to feel the front of the thighs, just to notice the tone, the level of tension through the muscle. Okay, go to the back of the thighs, go up higher, and then go right up to the glutes and notice the difference. Notice the way the glutes aren't working, they're asleep. Now part of this is because this thigh bone, for most of us, sits too far forward in our hip socket. And this is because, again, the front is overworking, it's pulling the bone forward and it's maintaining a kind of disconnect. So what we're looking for through our practice is positions, and I call them remedial positions because they're positions that allow the body to work as more of an integrated system, where all parts are working at a similar pace. So there's a more even quality of tone. To achieve that, take the hands to the base of the glutes, the base of the buttocks, top of the hamstring, base of the buttocks. You're holding that space. Sit the bum back into the hands. Same stuff we were just doing. You go back just to the point where you feel, okay, they're switched on. Back of the thighs, switched on. Front of the thighs, switched on. It's all working evenly. Yeah? We bring the weight forward. Even the weight coming forward in the feet and the toes engaging and working sends a similar engagement up through the ankles and through the lower legs. Okay, keeping this position, take the hands now up to the ribs, hold the lower ribs, thumbs at the back, fingers at the front. First thing I want you to do is begin to slowly bring the gaze downward toward the floor, so you're slowly shortening the belly initially. What I want you to notice is the bottom back ribs are expanding and swelling, which means the bones are separating, there's more space for the discs. I want us to keep the fullness of the back ribs and then slowly reopen the front again. Bring the gaze forward. Keep breathing into the back ribs. They're going to be the vulnerable part in this realignment. They're used to getting tight. Now we keep everything that we've going on, take some deep breaths into the ribs, into the hands, and lift the ribs up. Try to pull them away from the hips. See, can you get a little bit more space between the hands and the hips? Ribs are full. Now, from this full position where the front body is long, you've got the arch in the back, the bum is further back than we normally have it, the weight is forward in the feet. Can you bring the fullness and the arc over to one side? So the lengthening that you're meeting, the stretch, wherever the tightness might be for you, imagine you're breathing into that space. So one of the difficult experiences for the pelvis is if the upper body is contracted, overly contracted, it becomes dense and heavy and it pushes in the lower back and that creates a dead weight over the pelvis. Come on back, fill the ribs up again, wait till everything feels full. Second side. It's all connected. We're interested in the whole thing beginning to unravel. So our experience of being in our body, and maybe our experience of being in the world, could be lighter, could be more joyous. Come back through center. Just stay with the breath. Deep breaths into the hands. Breathe through the nose if you can. So as you fill it up, lift it up. We'll go back to the first side again. Maybe you get to go a little further. Breathe into what you're meeting. We'll come back, ribs are full. Second side. Breathe into what you're meeting. Even the smaller ribs, keep breathing into those. Don't let them collapse all the way into the body. Perfect. And we come back. And again, release everything. Close the eyes. Notice the breath. No work. Be close to your breath. Cool. Okay, let's open the eyes again. So the body is an amazing mechanism, and of course there's all kinds of different ways and systems of working with our bodies. And no matter what kind of practices you like, some people have strong, fast practices, some people prefer slow practices, but definitely the slow, steady movement, connection to the breath, awareness of the breath, steadiness to the breath itself creates a deeper pathway into the programs that create the patterning in our bodies, the holding in our bodies, that we're interested in dissolving and releasing. So in terms of the physical movement practices that we do, being effective at deeper levels, not just kind of, so often, let's say the more superficial movement practices, you get a hit, you get a release for a day or two, and it's back to where it was. What if we could actually have practices that brought us deeper into what is happening in our systems, the holding patterns, even to the idea of beginning to experience the holding in our body as something else, that there's information in the holding. The body, it's a way in which the body stores information and tries to communicate it to us through pain, through suffering, through tightness, through expansion, through freedom. The body is continually speaking in these very practical, actual terms. It's very grounded in that sense. And a lot of what we're interested in, certainly what I'm interested in, is understanding that language, speaking that language. And the first step along that path is developing a willingness to listen. And that really only happens in the beginning through slower practices. That we treat being in the body as a remedial experience and really begin to open the ears and pay attention to what's coming up for us. So feelings, particularly as we're working with them, as we're working with holdings, tightnesses in the body, they'll begin to translate into feelings and translate into thoughts. That's what the body will do. It'll turn them into feelings and thoughts, and then we have an opportunity to begin to decipher, to begin to make sense of what it is we're holding. All of these patterns, stories, wounds, histories, all of the stuff that we're carrying around in our bodies. And a lot of it we are being asked to see, to bring into the light so we can release it, because we don't need to carry a lot of the density of those old experiences, those old patterns, those old ways of being in the world. And there's a whole invitation through our practice to reveal a lighter version of ourselves, a more at ease person that is in there. That's the foundation of our being. The idea that the ground of being is a place of deeper peace, deep knowing, deep compassion. Those higher frequencies are there for each of us. Okay, so we're standing somewhere around the middle of the mat. We're going to hold that position we were just in, hands to the base of the glutes. We sit the bum back. I'm going to try to keep actively pressing the glutes into my hands. So I want to keep a sense of the thigh bone in the hip, knowing that it's moving back all the time, even though I'm going to move around with the legs. Left leg goes back. Now you see what I do. I only take it back about 1.5 feet. It's not a way back step. If I go too far back, the glute goes to sleep. But if I take it back a little, I can keep the two glutes active. Step forward, other leg steps back, step forward, step back. So notice the glutes for the whole transition stay active. This is training the body to work in different ways. Toes are the last thing to lift up, first thing to come down. Notice that. Toes, last thing to lift up, first thing to come down. And these are just ways to break old habits in the body. Keep going. Now, as you're working with the legs, remember this idea of the buoyancy in the upper body. So the gaze is forward. Take a couple of deeper breaths just to fill the ribs up again. Keep the feet, toes active as you're transitioning. Couple more. Next time left leg goes back, pause. Now you keep the glutes going back, actively pressing back as you lower the back knee. Yeah? Two legs back, forward, hands and knees. And then close your eyes. Close your eyes. Just notice the breath initially. Just tune into the breath. Tune into the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Let the hips sway a little. Let the lower back and belly soften. Breathe specifically into the bottom back ribs. Just notice that space as you're breathing. Move a little through the shoulders. Keep breathing. Just make it all simple. None of it needs to be complicated or forced or strained. Keep breathing into the ribs. So every time you take a breath into the ribs, a deeper breath, can you have a sense of the buoyancy through the rib cage, that lightness that becomes a little bit felt or available? Move the neck and head a little. Just feel, observe. Where does the looseness live, the fluidness? Where do the kinks, when do they appear? Perfect. And then let's come up onto the knees, come high on the knees. Okay, let's take the left foot forward. Left foot forward. Okay, left foot forward. Now, the same alignment with the pelvis that we were working with before. So if you take the hands to the glutes and you feel the glutes and you notice the left hip glute is working, the one connected to the front leg, but the back leg, it's not working. Probably not working in the same way. It doesn't have that quality of tone and expansion that indicates the thigh bone is sitting in a healthy descended space within the hip socket. And it literally creates an electrical charge. It's like a current, or you switch a light on and it creates a connection between two wires. The same thing happens when you align the pelvis. When you align all of these parts of the body skillfully, there's a movement of energy that in terms of the muscles engaging, we talk about the posterior chain, the back chain of engagement, how all the different parts are connected together, work together as a system. Information and energy moves in a way that is integrated, that is communication happening within the body. So take the hands to the base of the glutes, sit the bum back into the hands. Now as the bum goes back, the upper body begins to lean forward. It's one movement. It's a rooting and it's a rising. One movement. You just go to whatever feels available to the point where you feel the two glutes are beginning to work together. Then take the arms to face downward toward the floor, and you got the left arm on the inside of the left leg. Press the left arm and leg together. Build a little bit of resistance. So as you're pressing the knee inward toward the body, imagine the hip, as you stick it back, is actually trying to widen at the same time. Breathe. Breathe. Stay with it. So you're maintaining the arch in the lower back, all of this fullness in the rib cage, we're keeping all of that. You might find you're able to lean forward without losing the back body. Breathe. Stay with the breath. That's it. Stay with the breath. Okay, perfect. Let's take the right hand over to the right. Let's bring it down to the floor. And again, this is just an exploration. Please do not force or strain yourself. Same hook with the big toe. Left foot, left hand. Yeah? See if you can lift the foot off the floor. Now, as you lift the foot, keep the knee bent, press the arm and leg together. And the idea of finding that arch in the lower back again, sticking the bum out, and then play it, stretching the leg over. Stretch it over. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we bend the knee. We take it back. Let's come up. Second side. Hands to the glutes. So again, we're teaching. So every time you bring the hands there, it gives you a point of reference, a place to work on. And the big thing with the back of the body is it tends to be less sensitive in the beginning because we're not used to being aware of it. Like most of us only pay attention to the back of our body when it's uncomfortable, when it's distressed. So to be able to go to these places, pay more attention to them, you're building literally the tendons that relay information. You're developing the synapses through the nervous system that relays information and gives you an idea of where you are in space. And it's a process of mastery of the body. To master the body, so the body is able to come back into homeostasis, back into balance, where all parts are working in more of a similar way, more connected, more balanced. So we hold the base of the glutes, we sit the bum back, we begin to feel the two sides working simultaneously. We take the two arms to face down, the arm against the leg. On the inside of the leg is pushing, so the leg and arm are pressing into each other, a little bit of resistance. Again, the idea of you're literally trying to imagine sticking the bum out and widening, 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 widening. Keep breathing as you do that. Keep breathing as you do that. Stay with it, stay with the breath. Yeah, and again, you might find you sink a little, but it's not dropping of the upper body, it's not losing the lower back. Stay with it. Okay, perfect. So we're going to take the left hand down to the floor, anchoring the hand and the arm, so the hand working. We're going to hook the big toe. Remember, index finger and thumb hooking, or index finger and middle finger hooking. And then we see, can we lift the foot? Now, even as you lift the foot, press the arm and leg together, stick the butt out, try to find the arch in the back, then take the leg. So again, this idea of rooting and rising simultaneously, the bum goes back, that sends the thigh bone deeper even as you extend out through the leg. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we release and we come back, hands and knees. And just like we did at the beginning, let things sway and move and be fluid. Stay with the breath. You've got it. Keep moving. And you'll notice, even after the work we've done, there is more fluidness available in the body because things are opening up and communicating. and the body becomes more and more and more of a comfortable place to reside. And this is one of the gifts that our body is continually trying to offer us. It's an opportunity, you know, being in a body when it's more open, more at ease, it's really enjoyable. So just stay with the breath, move a little fluidly. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. Great. Okay, so pause, come up onto the knees. So we're going to try something out. For some of you this will work, and for some of you it's just not going to work. If it's not working, I want you just to hang on, okay? Because we've got other stuff coming down the line. Please do not force a strain to get into this. You might want to have a brick, a yoga brick handy, or a book, or a cushion, but something that has a little bit of height, that's about 2 inches, and a bit of firmness to it for the pelvis, okay? And just have it handy, have it available. Okay, so I'm going to go from my hands and my knees. I'm going to let my lower back relax, so I'm not in this tight, flat back body, and let it relax. So again, that allows automatically the thigh bone to drop back in the hip socket. I want to maintain and support that. I bring the two legs together. And then I take my left leg and I cross it behind and over my right leg. So literally I've brought my left leg to the other side of my right leg and I'm pressing it against the back of the front leg. So I push the thighs together. Now, as I'm doing that, for most of us, as you're doing that, the belly wants to tighten, the back wants to flatten. And that's a different position in the pelvis. So even here, relax the lower back. Any tightness in the back, you just breathe into it, no big deal. Now, I want you to walk your feet, your shins apart. So this is the tricky part. You need a certain amount of available space in the pelvis. If this isn't happening, please do not force. Sit it out. From here, I'm trying to maintain the arch in the lower back as much as I can. The brick, I take it between the two legs. I try to place it between the legs. Now you've got a few different heights you can go to. You can go low, you can go high. Sometimes going kind of high is good to begin. I'm going to take my hips back. I can reposition. So I've got my hips between my legs. So they're my feet either side. Okay? I go to the first position. See how I'm getting on. How does it feel? Yeah? You might notice there's more weight on one side. So for instance, let's say we have the right leg on top. The tendency is there's more weight on the left hip. The way to create more balance there is you actually literally need to pick the bum up and bring it over to the left. Bring it over to the right. So if the right hip is heavier, you go to the heavy side and then you place it down and it slides back to center and it realigns the bones and will create more balance. If you still feel one side is lifted, you literally just lean onto that side a little bit more to create balance in the pelvis. Okay, so you do the best you can. If it's available, you can walk your 2 feet, or at least the back leg, you walk the back foot forward. Now, I want you to look at the position of the front leg foot. You'll notice the way it sickles, the outer ankle, and we've talked about this before, drops. I want you to tilt the toes, the front of the foot, closer to the shin. And that will just help lift the ankle and balance it. Now that stretch that you're feeling in the lower leg hip, just breathe here. Try to sit up in a way that has length, has space. Breathe. So if you've got your left leg underneath, you're going to begin to arc over to the right and vice versa. Okay? So we're arcing away from the lower leg. And wherever the tension is, just breathe. Just breathe. Breathe. Breathe into it. Breathe into it. You can decide maybe you want to walk the hand out, go a little further. Wherever it is, just give it time. Don't force. It's usually pretty uncomfortable as we go into the pelvis. Breathe now. Okay. So we're going to come back. We're going to come forward. Place the hands. And then lift the back leg to release. Okay. First thing is lower back, relaxes, hips sway. Breathe into the ribs. Bring the legs together. Second side. Second side. Walk the feet apart, stick the bum up, so have the arch in the lower back. Even as you get to sit back, have your brick handy. The back foot, the foot of the back leg, you try to see, can you bring it forward a little? If you need to reposition the hips so you feel like the weight is relatively even in the two sides, look at the sickle of the front foot, so you can, even with the 2 feet, you can tilt the toe or the top of the foot. It's not just the toes, but the top of the foot coming a little closer to the shin. That just balances the ankle. And when the ankle is balanced, bones in the lower leg are in a healthy position. When they're in a healthier position, as they connect into the knee, it's much safer. So most of us with knee issues are because the foot and the ankle aren't doing their job. Okay, you breathe into what you're meeting. So again, we're going to arc away from the bottom hip and comes to the floor. And just take your time. You might feel like arcing is too much. Don't do it then. Just take your time. Breathe into what you're meeting. That's it. Breathe. 3, 2, and then for 1. Beautiful. Okay. Let's come all the way back. All the way back. Uncross the legs. Let the hips sway. Let the lower back relax. Now just close the eyes and feel. Feel the space you've worked with. Feel. Beautiful. Breathe. Okay. Bring the 2 legs over to one side. Lower the hips down to the other side. Come onto the shoulder and then all the way over onto your back. Keep the 2 knees bent. Release the arms either side of you. As you do that, press the head down. Just lift the shoulders up. Shrug them up toward the ears. Drop them to the floor. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the 2 knees drop apart. If you find the groins are sore, you support the thighs. You support the legs. You put cushions underneath, or you just keep the 2 feet on the floor. Either way, close the eyes. Notice your breath. Be with your breath. Okay. Bring the 2 knees back up. left ankle over right thigh. Left ankle over right thigh. Okay, very simple. Without moving the feet, you got one foot on the floor, other foot's kind of in midair. I want you to imagine the 2 feet are on the floor and the toes are gripping. So the toes are activating. Without moving the feet, pull the 2 feet towards your hips. So the bottom leg, that's straightforward enough. Top leg, without moving it, you're pulling it toward the pelvis. And at the same time, notice the inclination for the pelvis to want to press down and the arch in the lower back to want to lift up. So you're working with that. Okay? Now, keeping that, can you lift the leg, the foot that's on the floor, without losing the arch in your lower back? And the answer might be no, I can't do that. That's fine. You just do the best you can. Hold the back of the back leg. So you're holding the back of the right leg. We've got the left ankle over the right thigh. We're holding the back of the right leg. Now, some of us, the belly is tight and the lower back is flattened. We can remedy that. Shins horizontal, 2 shins horizontal. Same thing again, 2 feet, imagine they're on the wall, toes are gripping, and you imagine you're pulling your feet down the wall, pressing your bum into the floor, arching the lower back, keeping that as you either stay where you are or you're bringing the leg you're holding closer. So you're getting that deep expansion through the left hip, left glute. Breathe into what you're meeting. Drop the shoulders. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And just let the 2 feet come back to the floor, let the arms release, close the eyes for a moment. Just feel. So much of our experience of ourselves, of being in the world, is doing. Being is the other side of that coin, the other side of us. And being requires nothing of us but to just quieten everything, to pause for a moment. So again here, feel the feet on the floor, grip with the toes. Without moving the feet, pull them towards your hips. Notice the tilting in the pelvis. Press the bum down, let the arch in the lower back deepen. That, you'll notice, begins to elongate the abdomen. We're going to see, can we keep some of this alignment, crossing the other ankle over the thigh, holding the back of the back leg. 2 shins horizontal. Again, imagining the feet are on a wall and the toes grip the wall, and without moving the feet, pull them down the wall. Press the bum into the floor. Let the arch in the lower back get deeper. Breathe into wherever the work is, wherever the holding, the tightness, the resistance, breathe into it. If you can in any way drop or relax the shoulders, do that. Just breathe. Breathe 3. 2. 1. Perfect. Okay, release the hands, release the feet. Again, as the 2 feet connect to the floor, just pause here. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Let the 2 knees go wide one more time. The game is to be comfortable here. If you need to support. If you need to not do this, don't do it. Let the attention notice the breath. You know, we spend most of our lives doing to get. And the practice of yoga is about doing to be. It's a subtle but important difference. Now slide one leg out. And then the other. Let the feet stay wider than the hips. And then the idea that your whole body drops down, sinks into the floor. And the awareness, the mind, just gently connected to the breath, just observing it. If you notice your mind wanders, come back to your breath. And this is the beautiful gift of our breath, of our bodies, is that they're simply here in this moment. There's no ambiguity, there's no decision, there's nothing convoluted about it. They're just simply present. So the part of us that tends to not be present, to wander off, if we can anchor that to what is present, then we're on the right track. Take a few deeper breaths, let the fingers and toes move. If you feel like stretching, stretch. And then bend one knee at a time. And we're going to roll over to the right side. And we're going to pause here. We're going to get comfortable. Use our hand or arm like a pillow. Just come back to the breath. Relax. And then take your time and we'll make our way up to sitting. You sit any way that works for you. If you want to sit up in a chair, feel free to do that. Just get comfortable. And once you're comfortable, close the eyes again. Notice the breath again. Settle yourself. Even a little waddle in the pelvis to really intentionally anchor. Have that intention of, okay, I'm going to ground myself here. I'm going to anchor myself. All the work we've done is going to amp up our capacity to feel that, to access that. This is how we really create safety in our systems. A lot of the mistrust, the fear that we feel, a lot of it is around us. It's in the collective unconscious. It's really coming up at the moment in the world. We can feel that and see that. And it triggers our own wounding, our own stuff. So these practices are really interested in how we begin to trigger, activate, connect to the part of us that is grounded, that is present, that knows we're safe. Like all of those places are in there too. It's just that the exterior world keeps triggering the other places, the fear places, the sympathetic nervous system, the protection. That's what it's all attuned to. So we need to go inside and begin to reattune to something deeper within us. This is our practice. Notice the breath. Settle yourself. And from that place of foundation, if you were to take a few deeper breaths, with the idea of opening, expanding, moving into this buoyant version of yourself. It's not about straining, forcing, struggling. It's just exploring, filling up. Let the belly relax. And we bring the hands together in front of the heart. So our practice really, really simply is coming home. You know, when we get into these habits of, look, I'm this way or I'm that way, or I worry a lot, it's because we're sensitive beings, we feel so much of what we feel. And then the invitation, the practice was devised to begin to make better choices in terms of where we're connecting to within ourselves, what's being fed and nurtured and supported within us. So as you take that big breath and you fill up, it's like expanding yourself, becoming full. I am full, owning that. And then we're continually teaching the nervous system how to remember that. Take the hands to our forehead. Take the hands to our lips. Take the hands to our hearts. And then to ourselves, to each other, we bow. Namaste. Good work, good work, good work. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'd be really grateful if you'd subscribe to the channel and spread the word. That'd be really helpful. And if you want to pay or donate, you can do that at michaelryanyoga.com. And I hope you have a good day. All right, take it easy.